Hi, everyone. Once again, my name is Ashley Cohen, and I wanted to welcome you to the very first BioVCN Python lesson and tutorial. So the first thing I want to go over is what Python is and what distinguishes it from other coding languages. Python is what's called an object-based higher coding language. What I mean by an object is a collection of data or variables and the methods or the functions that act on those data. Now, we can think of the Python object much like a schematic of a mathematical function you may have seen in a high school algebra textbook. So we have data and we put it through some function to create either new or altered data. And that is what the Python object is. Python is also considered a higher coding language, meaning that it's structured to sound more like human language rather than computer binary like ones and zeros. I'm going to go through some of the pros and cons of Python to hopefully convince you that this is the language for you if you don't have a primary coding language yet. So one of the great benefits about Python is that it is free and open source, meaning you don't need a license, you don't need to pay for it, and it's freely available to download online. Unlike other languages, you also don't have to compile the code before running it. It's also easy to interpret, once again, going back to it being structured more like human language. And it's also much more broadly applied than other languages. So there's a lot of versatility. For example, in terms of web-based applications, Python is used for Dropbox, which a lot of people use. Also, the coding style can be either object-oriented or more of a step-by-step sort of instructions. There are a couple, though a few cons. It can be slower to run code than other languages if you're doing something very memory intensive. And it does have non-flexible scripting in the language, which sometimes makes it a little difficult to edit. But we'll get into more of the details of that later. So how is Python used in bioinformatics? Pretty much everywhere. Many bioinformatics software components are all Python scripted, and many advanced bioinformatics data sorting and statistics functions are available as what's called Python libraries, meaning someone's already done all the hard work of making all these really advanced functions for you to use, and you just have to import them into Python and use them rather than making your own functions. So I've shown here the icons of two of the most popular, which is the Chime2 pipeline and BioPython. So before we can actually learn some Python, we need to all familiarize ourselves with the technology that we're going to be using in this course, and that is Jupyter served through my binder notebooks. So to roadmap you through the important features of my binder, I'm going to go through these three listed points individually. The first important feature is the console, which comes also along with the text editor. A console, what most people know as the command line, is an interface where the user can enter computer commands one at a time. So if you've used the command line before, you kind of know it as this black square box that you type text into and hit enter. Most lengthy or complicated codes are first edited in what's called a text editor, but then the code itself is always run through the command line or console. And the great thing about the MyBinder interface is that the user can write or view the code in a text editor, and then also run that code through the console when they're ready, as they would do on their own computer. And this is showing you what that looks like in the MyBinder layout. So here is the MyBinder browser, and on the top we see the text editor where I would type and edit my code. And then on the bottom is the console where I would then run that code. So the great thing about my binder, as I mentioned, is it does come with that text editor, and it's a specific kind, which is called a scripting language sensitive text editor. So most basic text editors that are used to write text files are, for example, TextEdit if you use a Mac, or Notebook if you use Windows. But those are plain. You don't see any colors or anything like that. We never write code in Microsoft Word or other editors where we can bold and color and do all that kind of thing, because the actual code behind the program will interfere with the script you're trying to run. And so it's beneficial to have some sort of text editor where you can color code what you're writing to visually interpret it quickly and easily, but to not mess up your code down the line. So this is an example of how that would look in my binder. So you can see, just looking at that script, automatically I can go, oh, def is a Python keyword. Oh, print func is a user-defined function. Enter your name is a string, and so on. And the last but almost most important thing is the safety net download button. Always back up your work, even if it's in the cloud. So the MyBinder interface also allows the user to back up their scripts by exporting them as Python files that they could save on their computer. And the great thing about this actually is if you're interested in continuing with that coding, but you don't have a text editor on your computer, you could in theory just use MyBinder and then download the scripts to run. So before I launch into the tutorial